Hello and welcome to another Overlord lore video, and today we are going to take a closer look at King Ramposa and why his sacrifice, aka the offering of his own head to the Prime Minister of the Sorcerer Kingdom as compensation for the action of his insubordinate Philip, did not change anything at all. But before we are going to take a closer look at any of this, let me quickly thank my Patreons for supporting this channel and for choosing today's video topic in my monthly Patreon pool. Furthermore, I say thanks to all users of the YouTube thanks function who made one-time donations. Now with that said, let's take a closer look at the situation at hand, so that we have a bit more context in understanding the King's and Albedo's decision. Philip felt that he needed to do something to embiggen his position, so he thought that attacking the grain transport of the Sorcerer Kingdom would make his position far better than it was before. And the only reason why his armed peasants were even able to seize the grain transport without any bloodshed was because the escort thought that this is more of an internal conflict between different branches of the Eight Fingers, and therefore they did not want to get caught up in this conflict. Now, as Demiurge said it best, it is far easier to predict the actions of a reasonably smart man than those of a complete idiot. So of course this course of action had taken even Demiurge and Albedo by complete surprise. They too could not explain what just had happened, and then when Ainz asked if the strategy employed against the kingdom of re-estize had failed, truly failed, Albedo and Demiurge concluded that the kingdom just needed to be destroyed for a greater goal. Now, the battle was no longer about whether or not and how much the kingdom should be punished for this transgression, but the kingdom itself became the centerpiece of a much larger strategy. Ainz had treated the Empire of Bahrut with great generosity for basically instantly begging to become a vassal state of it, and made sure that the realm prospered even more than it had before. And this embetterment of the situation to a very great degree. And again, the Empire of Bahrut was not in a bad shape by any stretch of the definition, made entering Ainz own sphere of influence seem downright appealing. Not only was the military strength of the empire supported and expanded upon by mighty undead warriors, but the economic output in general, and the agricultural production in particular, just skyrocketed due to undead labor, making the life better, and the capital of the Sorcerer Kingdom, the former royal city of Irantel, a more military installation, also became quite prosperous and rich, and of course, thanks to the aid of the Sorcerer King, villages that had been destroyed by the slain theocracy, or rather by the Knights of Bahrut as it is officially known, could be rebuilt and prospered once again. And since the workforce came directly from the pauper district of Irantel, it could later be redesigned in a vast building home program to house many different body shapes and many other different kinds of demihumans and heteromorphs. Ainz had solved two problems with one simple action. And of course, the grain transport was meant to aid the war-ravaged Holy Kingdom in its rebuilding effort. Now that it was officially liberated, as far as the outside world is concerned, or rather under new management from the Grey Tomb's perspective, it also too greatly profited from being associated with the Sorcerer King. He himself has slain Albedo, arguably the biggest destabilizing and chaotic force in the region, from the perspective of uninformed onlookers, so the Sorcerer Kingdom was quite appealing to join. But with the attack on the grain transport, the Sorcerer Kingdom had now also to demonstrate to the wider world what happens if you decide to actually attack the Sorcerer Kingdom, to actively oppose the action and influence of His Majesty Ainz, and also strive to reduce his influence in other parts of the world, such as the Holy Kingdom, for which the grain transport was meant. Well, you had to make an example out of this opposition. This was the way to salvage the strategy in the kingdom, by educating the wider world what would happen if you get on the bad side of the Sorcerer King. And that's why there was no wiggle room left for any kind of negotiations. For while the Sorcerer Kingdom had lost a grain transport, it was just the grain that has been seized, with none of its escorts even harmed. And under these circumstances, normally, offering a compensation many times the original amount alongside the head of the noble who did attack the grain transport, would have, at least normally, shown that the Kingdom of re-estize was not in cahoots with the noble in question, and therefore a war could have been prevented. But the king and court suspected that this action of the noble was due to mind control, and since the political situation at court after the devastating defeat at the Cuts Plain was unstable at best, Ramposa could not just send Philip to the Sorcerer King as punishment. He needed to appear strong and protective of the nobility of re-estize. And once the situation then escalated further and war was about to be declared, Ramposa tried everything to prevent it, by offering his own head instead, which again under normal circumstances would be enough to stop the war, since taking the head of the king is like taking the head of the entire kingdom symbolically. But again, since the re-estize kingdom needed to be destroyed to show the wider world how pointless and dangerous any resistance against the Sorcerer Kingdom truly was, Albedo could not de-escalate the situation anymore, despite being fairly impressed by the move that King Ramposa made. Ironically, sending Philip to the Sorcerer Kingdom in order to salvage the situation, or rather having his mind read or be put under mind control right after Hilma had been interrogated by the Sorcerer King himself, would have cleared up what actually happened, and that Albedo and Hilma had indeed worked too well, for after all, their task was to find the biggest idiot the nation had to offer, and then would be in charge of leading the third faction at court. And they overachieved quite a bit by finding Philip, who thought that attacking the Sorcerer Kingdom was a great idea after all. Again, the blame would fall solely on him, and when Einzelgorn finally knew the truth, then he would not be the one declaring war on the Kingdom of re-estize. Rather, he would solve this misunderstanding, leaving Albedo and Demiurge able to continue the normal plan. So if King Ramposa was in a better position at court, and if he did not suspect the Sorcerer Kingdom mind-controlling Philip in order to provoke a war, then the whole situation could have been indeed salvaged, and Philip would have been punished instead of the whole kingdom. But alas, this did not happen, and therefore the Kingdom of re-estize had been destroyed. And with that said, I say thank you very much for watching. Please feel free to leave your comments, thoughts and ideas down in the comment section, and as usual, I say my special thanks to Arder Daddy Arder, Bad Guy Ye, Bad Burrito 316, Beezer, Ben C, Brandon D, Chrissy, Crowley 0221, Sia, Crystal Prime, Dead Slime, Death, Is Mercy, Deathless Dragonlord, Demon Xenomorph 1987, Devin Downen, Ding Dong, Dragonlord Plaxi du Saxophone, Duckwagon, Dunkler Krieger, Dystopia, Dystopia II, Enigmatic Unicorn, Feralchivan, Guy with That Head, Hector Marino, Hoss, Huster, Jacob G, Jana B, Jason, J. Morris, Chromius, Kyle R, Lee K. Long, Legendarius, Lelouch Britannia with a Mustache, Lexus Fox, Lord Nishikian Rai, Lord Touch Me, Love Razor, Merovec, Mr. Shoes, Mr. Tweaker, Michael R, Michael Y, Nope, Oh Hell No, Normal Toad, Oh Kill, Overlord General Gasper, Paddy Pantom, Personage, Primus 11, Rhinomere, Cune Caracos P, Shergox's Daddy, Shadow Lightning Wolf, Shrine Keeper, Super Tier Magic Batista Bomb, Supreme Cheese, Staris, Ted, Texas Deer, The Orc Warboss, Rak Edsmeshar, T.E. Wang, Vash Hawkeye, Vegito 27, Venture Fanatic, Wilhelm, Xenokai und Sonagon. Thanks guys. Anyway, have a nice day and I hope to see you all again soon on my next video.